Let me read to you a passage from the 4th chapter of St. Luke's Gospel, verses 31 to 37. It's the Gospel for Tuesday of the 22nd week in Ordinary Time. St. Luke writes, "Then Jesus went down to Capernaum, a town in Galilee, and on the Sabbath began to teach the people. They were amazed at his teaching, because his message had authority. In the synagogue there was a man possessed by a demon, an evil spirit. He cried out at the top of his voice, 'What do you want with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God.' 'Be quiet,' Jesus said sternly. 'Come out of him.' Then the demon threw the man down before them all, and came out without injuring him. All the people were amazed and said to each other, 'What is this teaching? With authority and power he gives orders to evil spirits and they come out.' And the news about him spread throughout the surrounding area." That's from Luke chapter 4, verses 31 to 37. What does it suggest to us? Well, we read in the book of Genesis how Abraham was called by God to leave his homeland and go to where he would lead him. Abraham grew in his faith, in his sense of mission, and in his stature as a man of God. Moses too grew in his calling and powers. The first great milestone for Moses was God's intervention at the burning bush, when he was told of his mission to lead the children of Israel out of the land of slavery to the land promised to their fathers Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. Moses grew in his status and in his powers. At various points he displayed uncertainty and lack of faith. He was refused admittance into the promised land because of his lack of faith on one occasion. David, the greatest of the kings, grew in position and in his powers over time. It is obvious from the Quran that Muhammad grew in his interpretation of what he took to be his revelations, and his understanding of his mission evolved over time. But what is noteworthy about Jesus Christ is that he suddenly appears on the scene of his ministry in the fullness of his powers. There is no uncertainty, no doubt as to his personal identity, his mission and his powers. It is precisely his sure knowledge and sure self-knowledge and his unhesitating use of his supernatural power which has been the stumbling block of liberal Christianity. Its proponents have asserted that Christ was uncertain about himself and that he lacked an awareness that he was the Son of God till, for instance, at certain advanced moments in his public ministry. But no. The pages of the Gospels are absolutely clear that from the beginning Jesus Christ was in full awareness of who he was, of the boundless extent of his power, and of the true character of his mission. Any limits to his power were those imposed by himself, namely, the free will of man whom he came to redeem. He revealed himself, his powers and his mission, but gradually. But it is plainly evident that he himself did not gradually understand and acquire them. Our gospel passage today that I read earlier is from St. Luke. Luke's account of our Lord's public ministry begins with chapter 4, following the infancy narratives and our Lord's baptism and encounter with Satan. He immediately went through Galilee in the power of the Spirit, and he was glorified by all, we read. When he returned to his hometown of Nazareth, all marveled at the words of grace that came forth from him. His claims were so exalted that they violently rejected him. Their very rejection shows the fullness of his message from the beginning. Thus he departed for Capernaum, and, as we read in today's Gospel that I read earlier, once again we see a fullness and a completion in his teaching and powers. We read that Jesus went down to Capernaum, a town in Galilee, on the Sabbath, and on the Sabbath began to teach the people. They were amazed at his teaching, because his message had authority. He unhesitatingly, and at a mere word, exercises effortless command over the underworld. Which of the prophets had done this? Moses cast his staff down, and it became a serpent, and his serpent swallowed the serpents of Pharaoh's men. But I am referring here to direct encounters with demons. The demons quailed before Christ, and he dealt with them as an all-powerful commander might deal with helpless miscreants. We read that in the synagogue there was a man possessed by a demon, an evil spirit. He cried out at the top of his voice, "Ha, what do you want with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." "Be quiet," Jesus said sternly. "Come out of him." Then the demon threw the man down before them all and came out without injuring him. What came across here was a man of full and complete authority in word and in power. And this was so from the beginning. All the people were amazed and said to each other, "What is this teaching? With authority and power he gives orders to evil spirits and they come out." Now all of this is but the manifestation of the utter uniqueness of Jesus Christ in the history of God's people and in the history of the world. It is an old saying that there is nothing perfect in this life. Do Hindus claim that Buddha was perfect? Buddhists may act as if they think he is, in a certain sense, but they would not formally claim it. Do Muslims claim that Muhammad was perfect? They may act as if, or appear as if they do, but I do not think they would claim it. After all, in their view, he is but a prophet. But the Christian claims that Jesus Christ was perfect man, and of course true God. Written across the pages of the Gospels is the fact of his perfection. Perfect man and true God. Nothing beyond or greater than he exists, or can be desired. In being his friend, we have our all.